Imagine waking up one morning and being told you have 48 hours to sell your home, your farm, your entire life, and disappear into the desert. No trial, no crime, just an order signed by the President of the United States. To understand what happened, we have to go back further. In the early 1900s, thousands of Japanese immigrants arrived on the West Coast in California, Washington, and Oregon. They built farms out of untouched land, opened small businesses, and raised families who knew no other home but America. But their success bred resentment. Discriminatory laws like the Alien Land Laws blocked them from owning property. The Immigration Act of 1924 slammed the door shut on any new arrivals from Japan. By the start of the 1940s, nearly 120,000 people of Japanese descent called the United States home, and roughly two-thirds of them were American citizens, born and raised on this soil. Then came December 7, 1941. Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor shocked the nation to its core. Overnight, fear swept across the country, and that fear didn't stay pointed at a foreign enemy. It turned inward, aimed at an entire community of American neighbors, co-workers, and classmates. On February 19, 1942, President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066. It gave the military sweeping power to remove any and all persons from designated military zones. Notices went up on telephone poles and storefronts almost overnight. Families were given as little as 48 hours to pack only what they could carry. Homes built over generations were abandoned in an instant. Farms were sold for pennies on the dollar. Businesses that had taken a lifetime to build were shuttered without warning. Neighbors watched as families were loaded onto buses and trains, headed toward an unknown destination, carrying suitcases and carrying the weight of being treated as suspects in their own country. They were sent to remote camps with names that would become etched into history: Manzanar, Tule Lake, Hart Mountain, Poston. 10 camps in total, scattered across desolate stretches of desert and swampland. Barbed wire fences and armed guard towers surrounded each camp. Entire families were crammed into single rooms. No privacy, no running water, no kitchens of their own. Summers brought suffocating heat. Winters brought freezing cold that seeped through thin wooden walls. And yet, inside these camps, people found ways to endure. They built schools. They planted gardens in the dry earth. They held onto dignity and community in a place designed to strip it away. Among the internees were tens of thousands of children, many of them born American citizens, who had never set foot outside the United States, now living behind barbed wire simply because of their ancestry. In 1943, the government issued a so-called loyalty questionnaire to every adult internee. 2 questions in particular caused turmoil, asking them to swear unconditional allegiance to the United States and renounce any loyalty to Japan. Many saw the questions as an insult. How could they renounce a loyalty to a country they'd never held allegiance to in the first place? Those who answered no to both questions became known as the No-No Boys, and many were sent to even harsher camps, branded as disloyal for refusing to accept an unjust premise. Others chose a different path. Thousands of young Japanese American men volunteered to fight for the very country that had imprisoned their families. The 442nd Regimental Combat Team went on to become one of the most decorated military units in American history, proving loyalty on the battlefields of Europe, even as their families remained behind fences at home. By 1945, the war had ended, and the camps began to close. But there was no home to return to for many. Farms had been sold. Businesses were gone. Families had to rebuild their lives from nothing, carrying the trauma of years spent imprisoned without cause. Justice, when it finally came, took over 4 decades. In 1988, President Ronald Reagan signed the Civil Liberties Act, formally apologizing on behalf of the United States government and authorizing reparations for surviving internees, a long overdue acknowledgement of a grave injustice. Today, the story of Japanese American internment stands as a powerful warning, a reminder of what can happen when fear is allowed to override justice, and when an entire community can be punished for who they are, not what they've done. Sites like Manzanar now stand as memorials, so this history is never forgotten and never repeated. This has been American Spotlights. If this story moved you, like, share, and subscribe, because History Remembered is history that can't be ignored. See you in the next episode.